Today's episode is brought to you by Bones Coffee Company. You can forget about boring coffee when you drink Bones Coffee. Not only do they offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry cheesecake and maple bacon, they are a family-owned company that puts great detail not only in their coffee, but in the artwork that comes on each individual bag. Bones Coffee has a coffee club that will deliver your favorite coffee to your door every month. If that wasn't enough, they also have some amazing swag to offer. Check out Bones Coffee Company today. I'll have my affiliate links in the show notes for you. Chaos rules in Madhouse, Madison County, Missouri. This rural community should be a safe place, but it hides a dark secret. Fredericktown is one of the most dangerous places to live in America. With a crime rate of 31 per 1,000 residents, Fredericktown has one of the highest crime rates compared to all communities of all sizes. I started researching one case sent to me by a desperate grandmother that led me to 15 more. Then I realized this county has had murder, corruption, and chaos since before the Wild West days. This book will start with a lynching by a Fredericktown mob in 1844 and will end up in an explosion. Hold on to your seats when you read this one. You're in for a wild, chaotic ride through rural Missouri. Check out my new book, Madhouse, Madison County, today. Hi guys, Sonova here for another episode of True Crime Tuesdays. We are in the middle of my book launch party for Madhouse Madison, so you just got to see the first ad for Madhouse Madison. So make sure and check out that book. It is available for pre-order. You can go on the link that's in the video description to get your copy pre-ordered until November 30th. After that, it should be available on Amazon, so you can get it from them. In the meantime, if you pre-order it, you will get it autographed from me. You'll get it sent to you in an evidence bag, so you'll have a gift with purchase. So today, we are here to talk about the Tyler Christensen case out of Washington. I have two of my favorite co-hosts on the line, and while I introduce them, I am going to be making some Bones coffee. I am still working on the hazelnuts. I love hazelnut coffee, so Bones Coffee is my affiliate. So check out hazelnut. That's what I'm working on. We're going to be making some hazelnut coffee today while I'm on camera. Of course, we have to, if you're drinking Bones coffee, you got to have a Bones decanter. So I have an affiliate link for that as well. So I'll be making some coffee. If you would like to join me with some Bones coffee, check out the affiliate link for that. So tonight I have Cricket Andrews on the line. Cricket is a fellow crime writer and victims advocate. I almost put my coffee in first, and if I put my coffee in first, it melts my ice. So got to put some cream in there and some stevia. So hi Cricket, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How's everybody? Hope everyone's having a good week.
I also have my favorite research assistant, Miss T. Tammy, how are you doing, Miss Tammy?
I'm doing good. I liked your ad for your book. It makes me not only want to read the book, but it makes me want to see it as a movie.
It does kind of look like that. So adding a little bit of sugar-free caramel to
Gotta get Hollywood involved.
Absolutely. Now tonight I got a little bit of extra. Decided just to make it more fun, we're going to add some sugar-free whipped topping to the top of my coffee. So there we go. So here is our iced coffee. Hopefully you've made yourself a cup while you've waited on me. Thank you for everyone who signed on. We've had dozens of comments before we even went live. I appreciate you guys signing on and starting the conversation while you wait on us. I always love to see that. We go live at 7 p.m. Central Time every Tuesday, and I love it when you guys get on there and start without us. So tonight we're talking about a 16-year-old boy that was supposed to be running to his youth group meeting. He attended two different churches in his area, and there was a youth group meeting that was happening about a mile from his house. And he usually either ran there because he was a runner, or he rode his bicycle there. And he was supposed to be going there, and he would never show up there, and he would never return home. This is on April 19th, 2016. So he was supposed to be going to this youth group meeting, and he ended up never making it. So, but before we jump into that, I got to have a drink of this. Everybody says, hi, happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. Ooh, that tastes good. That tastes good. Okay, so let's get started. Let's get this party started. For those of you that haven't been watching, I have been doing a book launch party on Facebook. I have been doing a book launch party on Facebook. We have been posting different games. Make sure you join in on those games, because every time you do, you earn a point, and you will be put into a drawing for a grand prize at the end of the week. Thank you, Doodlebug. That they said, "Dang, this looks delicious." It is delicious. It's hazelnut. Bones coffee, and it's got a little touch of sugar-free caramel, because I can't have sugar, and a little touch of stevia, and then heavy whipping cream. So yes. Okay. All right, gotta stop playing with the coffee and get to work. Gotta get to work. Okay, so we're talking about a teenage boy named Tyler Christensen. Now he was 16 years old. He was just a few weeks away from turning 17. He was heading to this youth group meeting, and he normally either walked there or rode his bicycle there. Normally, he would text the youth group pastor, and the youth leader, and let him know that he was coming. And you will find out that this was his standard procedure. He would text him to let him know he's coming, because he was walking. And that night he didn't text. You'll also find out that he left his phone at home. You'll find out that he left in a shorts and a t-shirt. But then he never come home. And by 3:00 in the morning, the next morning, I don't know if the parents had gone to bed and woke up and realized he wasn't there, or what prompted them to call at 3:00 in the morning. But by 3 a.m., the parents were concerned, and they couldn't find him, and they called the police, and they filed a missing persons report. Now, Tyler had left without very much for clothing. It's April, so it is a little cool for overnight in Washington in April. And so they were a little concerned. They would find out later, after a little while, they would find out some people that lived down the road actually caught him on some of their home surveillance cameras. And he had actually gone the opposite direction from where he told his mother and father he was going to go. So the church was one way. They do find him on camera going the opposite direction from the church. So he left his phone at home. He went the opposite direction from church. Then you'll find out later that they would find that he took the ferry. You'll find that there's a backpack full of strange provisions available that will be left behind. You'll find the story of a man picking up this hitchhiking teen. You'll find a lot of strange things in this story. And unfortunately, 8 years later, he's still missing. Nobody has any information. The family's not come forward. They're supposed to be a very private family, so they haven't made a lot of media push. And the police haven't divulged a whole lot of information either. So Tyler at this point could be a runaway. Tyler at this point could be a human trafficking victim. Tyler at this point could be off living on the lam, or he could be deceased. At this point, we don't know. And so this is what we're going to discuss tonight. Cricket, when we first started talking about this, what is something that really jumped out at you when we first started talking about this?
Well, the first thing that always jumps out at me is look at the family first. We know nothing about the family situation.
Right.
then we have the driver who I, I don't believe his story.
Mm-hmm. I don't either.
So, no, and in my mind, like the last sighting was on that camera from the neighbor.
Right.
From my
So,
experience in dealing with finding missing with an
mm-hmm,
organization, when a phone is left behind, it usually means that they have been lured or
mm-hmm,
they left it behind because they don't want to be found.
right,
And then
right,
another thing is 16. He doesn't have money
mm-hmm,
to do this.
right. Now we'll find out that 2 to 3 weeks later, you'll find out that a man comes forward and says that he's seen Tyler. It's not someone that he knew. He said he's seen the missing persons poster and put it together. A man came forward and said that he picked up the hitchhiking teen, that he had taken the ferry and he had picked him up. He says that he took the ferry from Edmonds to Kingston, Washington that night. Now, this man said that Tyler was hitchhiking. He picked him up, and he said he had a backpack with him. He said that he was going to go hiking in the Olympics, which is mountains over there. So he was going hiking in the mountains. He said he dropped him off between Poolsboro, I guess is how you say that, in Silverdale. He said he dropped him off there. And this man came forward to tell investigators this 2 to 3 weeks after he'd went missing, after the posters go up everywhere. Then after this man brings this forth and tells this information to the police, in May, Tyler's backpack was found near the high steel bridge near Sheldon in Mason County, Washington. There was some food, one pair of sweatpants, a few emergency blankets, and a ferry ticket. Okay. Now, this is something we need to understand. Tyler was a semi outdoorsman. He liked to ride, dirt bikes and motorcycles. But they hiked and they camped a lot. So if he was planning on leaving, um, I find it odd that he would take one pair of sweatpants. There was no other clothes in there. There was no major sets of socks. There was no hiking boots. He left in a t-shirt and shorts and running shoes to go to church. Um,
And
supposedly.
any avid camper or hiker, that's not what you take.
No, no. And so to me, if you're a camper, you're going to take all the provisions you need. You're going to take provisions to start a campfire. You're going to take provisions to cook on the campfire. You're going to take provisions to keep yourself warm and dry. You're going to take more than one pair of socks. You're not going to go hiking in tennis shoes. You're going to be more. You're going to take more things to be more self sufficient. And this was all that was found. There was one pair of sweatpants, some food items, and that ferry ticket. Now, they didn't tell the public about this backpack being found for a year because they said they didn't want any civilians going out there because it was kind of a treacherous area trying to search for him and getting hurt is what they said. Um, that sounds a little bit fishy to me.
Yeah.
But the backpack was found near a bridge that was a kind of a tourist attraction. It was an outdoors tourist attraction where a lot of people go through. Some podcasters say that there wasn't a lot of wildlife because there was too many people there, and so they thought if he had met his demise there, that his body would have been found because there wasn't enough wildlife to haul him off. I get aggravated when I hear stuff like that there's enough wildlife in the middle of downtown New York City to haul you off. If there's a
Yes.
dead body on a bridge or on a hiking trail, I don't care how well traveled it is, there's enough wildlife to haul you off. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Um, but the concept is his backpack was found in a semi pretty public place. And so to me, before we jump off into what I think, Miss T, what did you think about this? I mean, did you find it odd that this boy left his cell phone at home? Do you find, because there's this whole theory that he pre-planned this. He had a bag stashed in another location. He left his phone home on purpose so they couldn't track him. He went the opposite direction of the church, and then he went supposedly to get this backpack, and then he hitchhiked and he paid his way across the ferry, and now he's living on life on the lam. Um, what do you think of that, Miss T?
No, I don't think I don't think he's living on the lam. He's too young to plan all that. And when I saw that the backpack was left by that busy bridge area, the first thing I thought was that it was like planted there to throw people off. It was the first thing that came to my mind.
It's, to me, it seems staged. It really
Yeah.
does. My
And I
camera
was
keeps doing
wondering,
stupid stuff. I can't. Come on,
and I
focus.
was wondering if they, like you, did they check the internet, his cell phone, to see who he'd been talking to, and just so many gaps in there. Did his parents go looking for him after church and he didn't come home? It doesn't say if they drove around trying to find him. It doesn't say, you can't find anything on that.
Mm-mm.
Um,
So here's
and why didn't they take him to church?
right. Why didn't they drive him? I
And
mean,
who drives to church?
yeah.
So I don't know.
So here's my thought on it. There's some people who say that, and we'll take a quick vote before we get into it. There's some people who say that he pre-planned all of this. The 16-year-old kid pre-planned all of this. He packed a bag and had it dropped and stashed at another location. He planned on taking the ferry. He planned on hitchhiking to Sheldon, which is about 40 miles away, which is where these mountain ranges are. This park, that the state park that he was going to. And this was where he was going to make his mad dash escape. Um, for one, the family is really tight-lipped, closed mouth. There isn't, when you see these kinds of cases, usually what solves the cases, you have the police working in the background, and you have somebody picking up that torch and running with it in the media. So you have a family member, a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a mom, a dad, a sister, a brother. You have somebody in that family that is shouting to the hilltops about their loved one's case. That's usually what gets the media attention. That's usually what brings in the leads for law enforcement. That's what usually solves these types of cases. And unfortunately, Tyler doesn't have anyone. There is no one person, as far as we can see, and girls, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see any one person taking lead on this and charging forward and being the hero of this person's case. I mean, did you find
No,
that, Miss T, or Cricket? I mean, I didn't see anyone charging forward and being the front man of this case.
exactly. And what bothers me the most about the backpack and his planning this, if he planned this, it would not have been a backpack. It would have been one of those metal with the metal frame
Hmm.
where
Yeah,
you can
he would.
take everything you need with you, not a little
Yeah, he probably
backpack.
had more of a rucksack full of stuff. You know,
Yeah,
to me. So here's the thing. Uh, in this podcast that I listened to, there were like, well, kids are usually better at the internet than the parents are. So he could have been talking to someone online and just erased it all so the parents didn't know. And I'm like, Yeah, but the police have ways of getting all that, even if it has been erased.
Exactly.
So kids might be better than their parents, some parents, um, but they're not better than the cops. The cops have a way. You delete stuff off of your hard drive, it's still there forever. You just have to have the right programs to pull it back up, and it's just been defragmented. When you have something on your computer and you delete it, and you delete that file, it just it fragment it it just crushes it into bite-sized pieces, basically. And all you need to do is run some defragmented software, and it will pull it back together, piece it back together, and put it up so you can see it again. I mean, I don't have the software to do it, but it's not that difficult to do for law enforcement.
And they've
They
done
do
that
it all the
with
time.
destroyed computers and
Yeah,
laptops.
absolutely. I mean, so it's not, it's strange to me. It's strange that law enforcement isn't being public with what they have. That's kind of normal. Uh, but it's strange to me that they can't prove why this kid left the house. Was his home life so horrible that he had to leave? Was his home life fine, but he was uh, drawn out by a predator? Um, did he have a girlfriend that his parents didn't approve of? Did he have a boyfriend that his parents didn't approve of? Did he uh, did he just decide to meet up with a group of kids that night and get himself in a bad situation um, and couldn't come home? You know, this is what, I was talking to the girls earlier this afternoon. Teenagers rebel. That's common. But parents give you rules and regulations for a specific reason, and it's not necessarily for your harm. But if something happens to you and you've told them you're going to be in one location and then you end up going in another location, nobody knows which ditches along the road to look in to find your body. So it's like, this is a situation where he could have definitely just gone to meet someone that his parents didn't approve of. But by doing that, he put himself in a situation where a predator saw him on the road. It could have been a situation where he had been talking to somebody online, and then that someone online lured them away and hurt him. So it is something that we need to they need to investigate his devices. Need to find out who he was talking to at these youth meetings. Was there any other children that weren't at these youth meetings that usually are? Did someone miss that night that is usually there? Was there a group of them gone? Was there some kind of party going on in town that this child was lured away to because he was raised in a rather strict manner? So was he trying to break free from that a little bit and decided to go to a party with some other teenagers instead of going to church? All of these are avenues that people need to look down. The problem is we don't have any idea of what this child's normal behavior is, because the family's not talking to us. The family's not talking to the public. And so there's all kinds of things. For one, was that actually his backpack? You know, um, they never have come forward to say, yes, that's our son's backpack. Was the things inside his actual belongings? Um, Anybody, I think it was you, Miss T, that I was talking to, you made the point to say, well, he didn't have a debit card, so he paid for the ferry with cash. So anybody could have that receipt. How do they know that that was his receipt? So there's all sorts of theories that could happen for this child. Of
And
course,
I
now it's
wonder,
been 8 years. He's an adult, but there's all he. If
I
somebody
wonder,
wanted to stage a backpack and stage an alibi, verify an alibi um, by staging this backpack, it wouldn't have been hard to get a ferry receipt and pass it off as his.
Well, I'm
exactly.
wondering if anybody interviewed the ferry operator. You didn't
Why,
say
yeah,
nothing about that.
I mean, they could interview the ferry operator. They needed to interview people the kids that he hung out with at his. He went to two different churches, so he had one church that he went to this youth meeting, and then he had the church that the family went to. There's two different churches, so who did he hang out with at these churches? Just because children are going to church doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good influence. There could have been some children that he met at one of these youth meetings that decided to drag him off and do something else, and he ended up getting in trouble. You know, so I mean, it could be something as there was a group of local teenagers that were out going to experiment with drugs one night, and he decided he was going to go with them to be in with the cool crowd. It could have been, there's 1,000 different scenarios. And when we can't get, and this goes back to the same thing that I always talk about that really frustrates me. Everyone wants to paint their loved one as a saint. Don't do that. Don't do that. We need to know the truth. And there's no judgment coming from me, but I would like to know the truth. Did your son have problems with drugs in the past and you're too afraid to show it because you're a religious family and that might bring you shame? Was there a love interest in this child's life that you disapproved of? You know, all of these things are uncomfortable to talk about, but when you're investigating something like this, you need to know these things. Have you told the police? If you don't tell us, that's one thing, but you need to, have you told the police? Have you turned over all of the things of this child? And so this is it's such a disturbing case because there's no one there. It seems like there's no one there fighting for Tyler. And that's what frustrates me to no end. Now we're going to have to bring up my cartoon sign here in a minute. But before I jump into that, um, Cricket, do you have anything else to say about the backpack?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that the backpack was a plant
How did you?
because the food that was in it, I mean, that's just not what somebody would pack. Not only that, if it was there for that long, what shape was it in? We know nothing because nobody's saying anything. And
Right.
nobody has seen him. If he went off with other kids, why is nobody speaking up? He's an adult now.
Hmm. Well, and see, and I don't know. This is all theories because
Hmm.
nobody's given any
Yes.
information. So everything we have to say allegedly or theories because nobody knows anything. No one wants to put any information out there. But here's the thing: I know of a case, and I'm thinking about making a video about it because I wrote about it on my blog, but I've never made a video about it. There's an entire town that killed the town bully, and the entire town covered it up. And so the concept of a child going off with a group and somehow dying in the process and then the group covering it up isn't an unheard of concept. So the fact that they don't have any information about who this child hung out with, I find disturbing because how many kids have gone off with the crowd and it could have been a hazing ritual, it could have been an
Hmm.
OD, it could have been an accident, it could have been on purpose.
Yeah, and he
um
was homeschooled, so I feel there was nativity there about
so this is the thing, right? How the world works. If you're
exactly.
too sheltered, you may not understand that these people aren't actually wanting to be your friends. They would rather take advantage of you and make fun of you behind your back. So um all of that is vitally important. We need to know why that child decided to go somewhere else besides church. And why didn't he tell his parents? You know, that is somewhat common behavior. So it's not that the child is a bad child, and it's not that you're a bad parent. It's not something to be judgmental about, but it's something that you shouldn't hide either. And so this is where I feel like this case has had such a disservice because there's so much hush hush around it. Now the child's 18 years old. He's over 18. He's an adult now. Now there's one theory that says, well, he planned all this. He left, he planned all this, and now he's out living his life free on the lam. Well, how is he living on the lam? At some point in time, if he had his driver's license before he left, he would have to renew them, and that name's going to be flagged at the DMV. So he'd have to get a new driver's license with a fictitious name. So to do that, that costs money to get all the paperwork you need. So if you're getting fake birth certificates and fake driver's license and fake social security cards and all that, that takes cash and quite a bit of it.
And you have to know
You can't tell me
people.
that 16-year-old kid. Yeah, you have to know the right people. You can't tell me that 16-year-old kid done that and
No.
has successfully lived under the radar for 8 years. Now,
Yeah.
this is something that I was talking to Miss T about. Teenage boys, for the most part, they don't do a lot of this pre-planning, pre-scheming, thinking all this through. They're not, some major masterminds. They're hormonal. They are impulsive. They're angry. Um, they're in a state of life where they're trying to transition from a boy to a man, and there's a lot of problems going on. They don't make wise decisions. They don't they don't pre-plan out this big scheme of how they're going to live life on the run for 8 years. 16-year-old boys, that's just not the way most of them operate. I won't say it's impossible, but they're more impulsive. They're more hormonal. They're angry. So, when it comes down to it, they've got all of this excess testosterone surging through their systems. They make a lot of bad decisions. And it doesn't matter how strict you are, how good of a parent you are, they're going to do something stupid, you know? And so when it comes down to it, to think that this 16-year-old boy pre-planned all of this, and this is the going theory right now, that he pre-planned all this, he had to have help. So if this was pre-planned and he actually did steal things from his house, put some things in a backpack, and then find a location that he could stash that backpack somewhere down the road, why didn't he take his bicycle? Why didn't he take enough stuff to actually do some good? To me, if he actually did those things, then he was having help. Somebody, most likely a predator, significantly older than this boy, lured him away, is what's happened. You can't tell me this boy just come up with this on his own, and he has lived out there on the land for 8 years. To me, somebody's lured him away, or he was running from a home life that's been hidden, or something happened to him and everybody's covering it up. To me, there's no good way for him to leave the house and not be found for 8 years. Nobody's found his body either. So to me, it sounds like he was lured away. Now, I want to know, when it comes to the driver that picked him up, supposedly, I want to know, was he a sex offender? Was he a predator? Did he have a history of abuse? Do we know anything about this man? Who was he? Why did the police so easily write him off? Could he have not been the one that said, hey, meet me here? And they met on the ferry, and he took them to an undisclosed location and did whatever to this poor child, and then killed him and left him somewhere. And then he tells the cops, another story sends them off in another direction and leaves a backpack in that other direction to verify his story.
Yeah, and that's not
This is all
uncommon.
alleged. This is a theory.
Yeah,
No.
it's not that uncommon as people think, that somebody gets involved in a case because they want to know where it's going.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We don't know
That's the
that.
thing. So, yeah, someone said, why would they? What if he was the killer or the perpetrator? Why would he um, come forward like that? It just put him on the
That-
police radar. And I said, well, they do that 90% of the time. The perpetrator
yes.
inserts themselves into the investigation because they want to see what the police know. And
Yep.
to me, that would have been a very logical thing if they thought that they were on their trail to place a backpack in a location that seemed reasonable and put enough stuff in there to prove that it was his backpack. So this is my thing. We don't know that he didn't run into someone he knew. We don't know that he left because someone lured him out. We don't know any of those things because they're not coming forward with anything. Now, his sister, he had 4 sisters. He was right in the middle, 2 older and 2 younger. He had one sister who was trying to be pretty vocal about it at the beginning, but within a year or 2, she
2 years.
died.
2 years.
Huh?
It was two
She
years.
died. And so they never would publicly announce what happened to her, but it's pretty common knowledge that it was this. So now you have a family that has 2 children that are gone. The family still is not coming to anything publicly. Family's still not carrying a torch trying to find out what happened to their son. They're not publicly expressing anything about this. And to me,
And
that's just suspicious.
yeah, and I question that too, because she was the only one that was being vocal.
Yeah, and it's funny that she's the
And
one.
yeah.
Yeah, because of course, I go into conspiracy theory mode there, and I
Me
try
too.
not to. I try not to go into
But when you
conspiracy theory
don't,
mode.
when nobody is giving answers, what are you
That's all
left
you
with?
got left. Exactly.
Theories.
You've only got left. That's all you got left. I think my drink is messing up my camera because I keep going fuzzy. But the moment I hold this sign up right here, everything clears up.
Just keep the sign up.
You look like you're doing that to yourself with that
Can you
drink and that
see?
sign.
Look, see how that changes my camera? Maybe it's because my camera doesn't know I wear too much black and it messes up my camera. I wonder if that's what it is. I don't know. It's
I
crazy.
feel like if he had any friends, they probably know something, because the teenagers are always going to tell a friend. And I know through experience with our own daughter that the friends were a wealth of information one time when we needed to know some stuff. So I think that,
Yeah.
they should try to talk to some of his friends.
Well, it's not fixing my camera now. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know what's making my camera go fuzzy every once in a while. So with this case, there's so little to talk about. It disturbs me.
Yeah,
I
I
ask
mean,
you guys to please share this story because this boy needs justice, whether his family's going to publicly fight for it or not. And to me, no, you don't have to speak to the public. I realize some people are camera shy and whatever, but there aren't very many people. I'm trying to say this without sounding rude or anything, because I don't mean anything bad by it. There aren't very many people more camera shy and more anti publicity, I guess would be a good way to say it, more private than the Amish. But recently, when there was a murder in their community, they were public with it. They still talk to the media. They, and they're very private people. So being a private person and not talking to the public at all, I think has hindered this case
Oh,
because there's not
definitely.
enough information out. And still can't fix my stupid screen. But so I ask you guys to share this story because somebody knows something. There's one of those kids that's an adult now that knows what happened. But there's only so many things that could have happened to this kid. He left on his own accord because he didn't want the rules anymore. Okay? Let's say that's what it was. He didn't take enough provisions to last very long. He couldn't have had enough cash to survive under the radar for 8 years. Where did he go? Some people say he hitchhiked all the way to Canada. It ain't that easy to cross the border into Canada to hide. You still have to have some kind of identification unless you find a fence that you can hop. There it, and then to live in Canada for 8 years and not come under suspicion. To me, if he's out there, he's got somebody who has hauled him off. There's somebody that has kidnapped him and kept him as a victim. That's the only way I think he could have got across the Canadian border and him be out there for 8 years. I don't think this 16-year-old kid had a way to falsify documents and to live under the radar for 8 years without somebody detecting something. Could be wrong, but that is highly unlikely. He could have been walking to meet someone else and someone found him, picked him off the road. A predator. There could have been some kind of hazing ritual with other kids. There could have been an accident. He could have decided to run away and there's an accident and he is he hurt himself and he's no longer with us. But there's only a few options. There's logical options. So this is where we are 8 years later. You go and try to look him up. There's only 2 or 3 things on YouTube. There's only 2 or 3 things online. There is a Facebook page that kind of has a few things on there, but not much information. And that's where you're left. There's
And
nobody
didn't they
fighting.
take one of the pages down?
Yeah. There was a group and a page, and one of them's been taken down. And so this is what I feel like. If they're not going to take up the torch and fight for this, I feel like that you, as my audience, we need to. We need to take up this torch and fight for this child, because when it all comes down to it, somebody has to fight for this kid. And if there's no one publicly doing it, I suggest we take up the torch and we do it. And so I ask you guys to share all this. It's a very short video. I hate that it's a very short video. There's just not any information out there. And so share this video and make sure and check out my new Madhouse Madison book and get you some Bones coffee. And make sure every day, I'm doing the book launch party right now till November 30th. So make sure you're on my Facebook page and you join in on the fun. Yeah. Join in the fun. Now, I had one game this morning. That'll be the only game I post for today because it's already 8 o'clock with this video. And then tomorrow we'll be back up to posting 2 or 3 games a day. And then on the 30th, I'm going to be drawing for our grand prize. And whoever had, every time you interact with the game, you get a point. So every point you get added into the drawing again. And so the more times you interact, the more good chances you have of winning the grand prize. So, all right, guys, thank you for signing on. I appreciate all of you guys watching. Make sure and check out my affiliate links every time you buy a book or buy a bag of coffee. It helps me help more people. Okay, so girls, tell everybody bye, and then I'll run the end credits.
Have a good one, everyone, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yep.
Thanksgiving.
Have a good night.
Bye, guys.